morning, guys. I am on my little daily morning walk right now in the garden, which I do pretty much every morning with Ricky. I don't know where he is right now, but I bring him out here every morning and we kind of just wander around the garden before I start work for the day. And it's kind of just like the way that I like to start my morning. I've been meaning to film a garden tour for June and I haven't had a chance to yet just because it's been a busy month. So I figured I'd bring you on a little walk this morning, especially before the sun comes out because it is hot out here in the garden all day long once the sun comes out, and it's just barely behind the clouds right now.
If you're new here, our garden area is approximately 1/3 of an acre, including the chicken run and chicken coop area. We aren't using the entire thing yet, but we do plan to include a greenhouse at some point. This entire area used to be fenced in for animals of some sort. We're not sure what, and we're kind of just making use of it the best way we know how, and that is making it all a big garden.
We're gonna start down at the bottom of the garden first because this is the part that gets the most sun earlier in the morning, and I'm trying to avoid that. This is the flower bed. It's mostly weeds. This is my last minute throw things in the ground because they need to go in the ground bed, and now it's mostly weeds. But we do still have so many strawberries mixed in here. If you can see this is asparagus and it's all frondy. Those are all going to get moved at some point soon. And then we have dahlias in here that are getting really close to being ready. We had a bunch of ranunculus in here, and for the most part they're all died off at this point because it's been so hot. And we need to get these pulled out and dry them to store for the winter. That bed is probably the closest to what you'd call a chaos bed, but some of the ones down here that you could barely see are pretty close to that as well. The two at the very bottom down here with the wood blocking them off, again, they're full of weeds. I've been trying to play catch up and it's just a slow process. These are mostly cosmos at this point, so they're starting to get big. I planted these pretty late, but we're finally starting to get something out of them. The garden kitten, he's growing all over the place and also digging everything up. Looks like we might have flowers soon. And then the bed to the exact opposite side over here is, again, mostly weeds, but also it's filled with cosmos as well. The next two beds on the way up the garden, they are brassicas, onions, and bolted lettuce that I've just been letting go to flower because the bugs and the bees love it. I started my onions from seed, and then we kind of ran out of time to get beds prepped for them by the time they needed to go in. So we bought some sets, and they're doing pretty well. They're still kind of small, but these cabbages are kind of just doing their own thing. I'm kind of surprised that they made it. They were pretty wimpy when I put them in. And this side of the bed is all grass. I don't know what kind of grass this is, but it's the worst grass. I don't know what it's actually like technically called, but it's everywhere. The kitten, Ricky, destroyed this entire thing. It was all onions and he trampled them. So we have sort of the same thing going on over here, mostly weeds, but if you look closely, there are some things tucked in here. A lot of blackberry bushes. These things are very aggressive, and this is what was here before. More onions that are looking a little bit better than those ones, the ones in the other bed. A cabbage, and some kale and lettuces that need to get pulled out. This is the first bed that I planted anything in this spring, so it's all bolted lettuces that, again, I was leaving for the pollinators. They've been all over the flowers. I'm finally getting to the point where I need to start flipping beds for fall things, so these will be coming out very soon. We have a whole bunch of coriander, which is cilantro, that went to seed, and I'm going to be collecting this soon. I'm actually pretty happy with this other side, even though it's not fully filled out. The heavy focus on this garden year is me getting the beds created and getting as many plants in the beds as I possibly can to see what we can grow this year. But next year we'll be able to just plant and amend, and I think that's going to be significantly easier than it is this year first year weeds are definitely upon us, and I'm having a hard time keeping up, which is to be expected. So to start off with, we have some sunflowers, our nasturtium, and these ones I think might be climbing ones. They should be anyway. They don't seem to be climbing yet. We have lavender, and chamomile is just starting to flower. I need to pick this. Peanuts, which again I've never grown before. This is a whole little peanut patch. There's so much okra in here. I've never tried okra. Taylor's never tried okra. The initial reason that we wanted to plant it is to fill bouquets with it, because once it gets a little bit hard and spiny, it's so pretty in bouquets. I think it would be so pretty in bouquets. So that was the main reason for growing it, but I'm hoping that we actually like it as well as a snack. I'm excited to try it. Next, we have sort of a bare spot that needs to get filled out still. I'm not quite sure what we're gonna put here yet. It's probably gonna be some sort of bean or soybean, like edamame or cowpea of that sort. At this point, it's probably gonna be a fall garden item because it's nearly July. All the way to the edge of this, we have all our artichokes. In our zone, which is 7B, and we're in Western North Carolina, I think that these could technically perennialize themselves. So we're just gonna see if that happens. I think I may cover a couple of them and leave a couple of them uncovered come winter and just kind of see what happens, because we can always grow more next year if they die. We have grow bags and planters all throughout the garden. These guys are our citrus. So we have a lemon tree, we have a car orange, and we have a Persian lime. In most of the grow bags, we had potatoes of various sorts. And now to the tunnel. This one's simple. I just ripped out all of our peas. We had snap peas, snow peas, and shelling peas in here. I literally ripped them out last night. They were pretty far gone at this point. They had been producing for quite a while. So now you can see we have stuff planted in here already. And these are our pole beans and our cucumbers. So on the other side of the trellis at the garden entry, we have two fairly empty beds right now. And that's because this is where our garlic was. I just pulled it out like a week or two ago. I think it was 2 weeks ago. And over here we have some panic asparagus again. That will all be moving to this bed up here. We just need to add more soil to this bed to actually get it deep enough to plant the asparagus. These beds are going to be flipped soon. I'm hopefully gonna have time to prep them for our next succession of garden tonight or tomorrow. That's my goal, is to get these guys ready. I think these are gonna be cowpeas because we have some that Daniel from Hobo Creek Farm sent us and we wanna try them out. I'm gonna plant them in here. I just ordered some seeds for our fall garden. If you guys wanna know what we're planting for our fall garden, just let me know in a comment and maybe I'll do a little video on that. It's not a ton of stuff, so it would be pretty quick. We have horseradish, a bunch of mint and oregano that I'm growing from cuttings, more sunflowers. This bed is absolute chaos, but if you look very closely, it's carrots and a lot of weeds. I've been working on thinning this bed out as far as the carrots go. We had a bunch of radishes in it as well, and I just pulled out all of the extra radishes that were bolted. And now I'm going to work on pulling out all of the small carrots to give the rest of them some space to actually grow. It's kind of iffy anyways because we have such solid clay soil. They're going to have a hard time growing no matter what, but I did thin some of them the other day, and we actually have some like baby carrot sized carrots. They're like 3 inches long and probably like that big around. So they're small, but they're still a good snack size. We can still roast them and have them with part of our meal, as part of our meal for dinner tonight, which we're going to do. So I'm holding out hope that we'll actually get some bigger carrots, but we're definitely getting some small ones, and that's still exciting. Next to the carrot mess, we have potatoes, and this was all supposed to be potatoes. I just haven't had a chance or the energy to double dig the rest of this, so it's empty for now. Flowers, we have Morning Glory. This one isn't blooming yet, but if you look over here, this one is. And they're beautiful. They don't even look real. They're so pretty. If you look back here, you can see this giant vine. This is way taller than me. We have one on this side over here that's not quite as far along. Their flowers tend to open at night, but those giant things are loofahs. We started them insanely late compared to what when you're supposed to start them, and they're still growing, so we'll see if we get loofahs this year. On the other side of the trellis over here, we have potatoes. I've already dug a bunch of them, as you can see. All of these are going to be dug up very, very soon. Some of them are almost ready, like all these sad green ones, and some of them are completely dead and ready to be pulled up. We got rain for like 4 days straight, like non-stop, like inches of rain, multiple inches of rain last week, and the ground was so wet, or else I probably would have dug those up already. It's on the list. What isn't though? Next to our potato beds, we have a lot of our peppers, and we actually have some tomatoes mixed in too. It looks like a giant bush. I know you can't see it very well, but if you come up close, you can see all of these peppers. We have Fresno chilies. We have a lot of banana peppers. We have Cubanelles, Tabasco. I think these are bananas as well. I'm not 100% sure. No clue what this kind is. Bell peppers. And then along the center, I did all of the tomato plants. We're going to be pruning those and tying them up very, very soon because they're starting to outgrow the peppers. We have the same thing in this bed, but this bed is more like Buena Mulata, and I tried to put like the hot peppers over here. We had sort of a fiasco, and all of our pepper labels are no more. So I'm guessing what most of these are. Some of them I absolutely can tell, some of them I have absolutely no clue, and it's gonna be a surprise. Who doesn't love surprises? These ones are obviously purple Buena Mulata, which I have no clue what we're gonna do with these. I just think they're so pretty. Taylor loves spicy things, I do not. So he's gonna be making some spicy pickles, salsa, hot sauce, and whatnot. So if you have any good ideas for how to use these ones specifically, let me know. I think we have more bells in here, more Buena Mulata, shishito. We had some of those ready yesterday, and I had to like impulse pick one and go blister it and sprinkle some salt on it because I've been waiting a year since Jess from Roots and Refuge said grow shishitos and make them this way. I literally plucked it, immediately went to go inside and have it, and it was phenomenal. Definitely recommend that if you've never had it. I can't wait to eat more of those. I wasn't originally planning to put tomatoes on the center of our pepper beds, but if you saw my like tomato disaster video, I killed them all. I started more, and then by the time I was ready to plant tomatoes in my garden, those ones were not ready whatsoever. So we went to the nursery, our local nursery, and picked up a lot to replace the ones that I killed. If you want to get that whole story, I'll link the video in here. But we got like 50 from our local nursery, and they're all doing very well in these beds. But the second succession that I planted of the tomatoes after I killed the first succession, they were finally sort of big enough to put in the garden. So I was like, I'll just pop them between the peppers to see how they do. If they do okay, we'll trellis them differently. And we're gonna have to do that because they're starting to outgrow the peppers. They're like actually taller than some of the nursery plants, which is kind of crazy to me. Most of these are indeterminate tomatoes. I do have one, I believe, that is determinate. And I think it is this one down here. It's not growing as well as the others, like height-wise. It's more bushy. And I lost the label for it, so I don't remember what it is. It might be Mountain Fresh. I think that's what it might be called. These plants are absolutely loaded with tomatoes, though. Most of these are, this whole row is mostly Romas. They're like La Roma Red 2, I think is what the label said. And we have marigolds mixed throughout. But yeah, you can see there are so many. I'm not gonna go through all the varieties, but I I did go through them all in my video about killing all of them. If you're curious what kinds we're growing, they're all in that video, all of the nursery ones as well. So this row over here is also absolutely loaded, but it's loaded with slicers. Okay guys, the sun's starting to come out a little bit, so I need to hurry this up because it's gonna get sweaty out here soon. Next to the tomato beds down here, we have another pepper bed. This one's actually 17 feet long. The other ones that I've shown you have all been 12 feet. This one's not doing as well, and I think it's because we have this big tree here and they get a little bit of shade. This tree is going to be coming out though at some point. It's a Bradford pear and they just need to go. We don't want them on our property. And eventually our greenhouse is going to go like right here. So for now we're dealing with it. This bed is laid out pretty much the same as the other ones, where there's peppers along the outside and then tomatoes along the inside. There is one thing that is different though. At this edge, not along the middle, but on the outsides, we have tomatillos, and those are actually doing quite well. And we actually have quite a few on there, and they're like filling out their husks. If you've never seen a tomatillo grow, they have these little husks on them and they fill them out. They start out really tiny inside the husk, and then eventually the husk, I think, turns papery, and that's how you know that they're ready. So we have 5 tomatillos. Then we have these massive tomatoes down the center that really need to be pruned because they are very much shading out the peppers. None of these peppers that I have seen have actual peppers on them yet, and I think it's because, well, they were planted a little bit later. Like I put them in the ground slightly later than the other beds because this one wasn't ready yet, and they get shade. Slightly further down the hill, we have 3 more beds. One of them is alongside the big trellis. The other 2 are all beans. They're all bush beans. I'm not going to go into super detail about the varieties, mostly because I don't remember them all right now, but they are a mixture of fresh eating beans like these dragon tongue bush beans, and we have regular green beans as well, like Cantare or Blue Lake. And then we also have a bunch of dry beans in here. We have a garden kitten in here who's eating. Hello. But we actually do have a bunch of edamame in here as well. And then I did do these little bean teepees. We put these 2 in later, so they don't actually have any beans on them yet because I ran out of pole beans. I need to get some more. These teepees have sunset runners and black night runners on them though. The third bed is a lot of edamame up at the front. I planted these ones slightly later, so they're a little bit smaller than the others. Edamame is the fuzziest thing I've ever seen. Look at all that fur. And then again, at the end of this bed, we have a bunch of empty space because I just have not gotten to it. It will get filled with something eventually. It just has weeds in it right now. But then the rest of it's filled with summer squash and zucchini. So what I'm thinking I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just keep planting summer squash and zucchini through here and hope that if the squash bugs find us, I can like sort of succession sow those so I'm still getting plants. I need to pop more in the ground. We have some smaller ones over here that I did that with. These ones have beautiful leaves. This isn't mildew, it's actually just what the leaves look like. These are the 8-ball zucchini. And you can see we have some that are growing nicely. We have some little UFO scallop summer squash, and that's pretty much what these guys are. This is one of the 8-ball zucchini. Just so you can have a better view of the squash, this is what they look like. They're pretty small, but I really like how cute they are. That's it for the main garden area, and now I'm gonna take you quickly to our little patches. And by little, I mean pretty darn big. We have a watermelon patch, which is this one. We have a squash patch up there. And then we have a pumpkin and corn and dahlia and a bunch of random flowers patch. The watermelon patch has 18 mounds. We have a bunch of different watermelons and honeydew and cantaloupe in here. I have a video going through all my seeds for the year if you want to see which varieties I'm growing. But there are some like this that you can just tell these are moon and stars watermelon. The winter squash patch got started after pretty much everything else. It was the last thing I planted, so it's a little behind, but they're just starting to come up. I have a big variety of different squashes in here. Our pumpkin patch is doing pretty well. It's popping with pumpkins. There are some mounds that are going crazy, like this one. And then there are some like these where nothing has come up or they were dug up. So I need to come back in for this one as well and pop more seeds in. This is the sad corn patch. They are starting to tassel. They're very small. This patch is one that like I just kind of made it because I had the corn seeds and I wanted to use them because corn seeds don't technically last super long and they were already a couple years old. I just made it, got them in the ground. A lot of them did pop up. I have so many more that I'm just gonna like replace these ones with, I think, for sweet corn. But they're all like kind of like knee high and it's not the 4th of July, so we're calling it okay for now. Not the best results, but it's okay. We can try again next year. We're still trying to get our watering situation in order, so I think a big issue that this patch has had is I haven't been able to water it a lot of the time. We have sunflowers back here as well. This was our first open sunflower on our farm ever, and it's beautiful. It's been open for probably 2 weeks now. This is, I believe, one of the evening sun sunflowers. And then at the front of this, we have a bunch of dahlias that I planted from seed. I'm interested to see what those look like. Oh, we also have sunflowers. I've heard that dahlias from seed aren't nearly as dazzling usually as the tubers, but I figured I had the seed, I might as well try. I'm sure they'll still be pretty. I'm not one to complain about flowers, regardless of what they look like. I'm happy to have flowers of any kind. Down here, we have the beginnings of our cottage garden. And lastly, this isn't really part of the garden, but I wanted to show you our sunflower tunnel. So as you can see, it's not really a tunnel just yet, but we'll get there. It's gonna be. They're about 6 inches tall right now, and it's looking so lush, and it looks really cool to me. Check back in a couple months, and hopefully we'll have some sunflowers. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed following along for our little June garden tour. I know it's kind of a wild, crazy mess at this point, but I am enjoying just having a garden so much, and we're putting work into it on a daily basis every day after work, as much as we possibly can. And I have big dreams for what this is gonna look like once we actually can manage it really well. I hope you enjoyed the tour, and hopefully you'll tag along for some of our little garden experiments that we're doing. And let me know if you wanna see a mini fall garden seed haul, because I just ordered them and they'll be here soon. So I'd love to show you guys what we're planting for our fall garden, which is going to be starting soon, which is crazy to say. I hope you liked the video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.